Hello everybody, welcome back. It's Jordan here, and today I'm going to be providing you with some flex track hacks. It's not the most desired Lego track, and here is the 4 segments that can be used as either a curve segment or a straight segment. That's right, 4 little flex tracks go into creating either a straight or a curve. It seems pretty convenient, however, it's just not the most desirable track. Here you can see I have a full curve made of a lot of different flex tracks, and we have the heavy haul train on there, and when we roll it over there, it makes some hideous noises because there's so many segments that those wheels are going over top of, so it doesn't sound the best. That's one flaw of this flex track. And also you can see when you move the train over it, it likes to move. There's actually no way of fastening this track to a base plate, unlike the regular straight plates where you can just clip them right into the base plate. The flex track likes to move around, so it's pretty inconvenient. With all of my experience with Lego RC trains and Lego RC train track, I've come up with a lot of different ways to use this flex track, and I'm going to tell you it's actually very, very helpful when it comes to creating Lego train layouts. So today I'm going to be sharing my tips and tricks with you on how to properly use a flex track in your Lego train system. Of course, you can use flex track in your train layout to create a basic curve, but everybody has way too many of the curved segments already, so why would you use flex track to create a curve? So no, I would not recommend using flex track to create curves, even though that is one of the purposes of it. It is absolutely dreadful at creating curves because trains derail when they're going over these bumps and around the corner. Does that mean you can't actually use it for curves? No, it does not. You can use them for curves if you want, but I actually have a way to improve this curve by using a combination of flex track and curve track. So what you actually want to do is you want to take either 1 or 2 flex tracks and put them between each curve. So now that we've added 2 segments of flex track between each curve, it's starting to widen the radius of our curve. But wait a minute here, these ends are coming closer together. That doesn't look like a curve at all. But we're not done yet. What we want to do now is take either 1x8 or 1x4 dark bluish gray plates and place them right on the flex track segments. Now what that's going to do is it's going to straighten out our flex track. So you see this won't move anymore, whereas the other ones are going to flex. So we're going to lock all of those into position. So there we go. We've got our 2 flex tracks between each segment of curved track, and it's locked in place with a 1x4 or a 1x8 dark bluish gray plate. Of course, if you're using 1x4s, you'll need 2 of them, and they'll just go onto this stud and this stud and that stud and that stud. So just make sure you lock your flex track into place, and look at the size of that curve that we just created for the heavy haul train. You can see a regular curve fits neatly inside of the curve that we extended with the flex tracks. And we can see that the heavy haul train happily goes around this awesome wide radius curve that we created using standard Lego RC track. I know you can buy wide radius curves from private companies, but if you want to make wide radius curves using standard RC track, this is the best way to do it. Now, in this instance, I use 2 pieces of flex track in between each curve, but you can use 1, 2, 3, and if you're using 4, then you may as well just use a straight track. But you can definitely widen the radius of your curves using a combination of flex track and curves, and then you can put that beautiful regular inside loop just inside the radius of that curve, so it just fits perfectly. So that's the first hack that I have for you when it comes to using the dreadful flex track. But I have some more hacks, so make sure you stay tuned for those as well. So we've conquered curve tracks and how to use Lego flex track to improve the curves in your track in the Lego City. But what about straight tracks? Obviously, straight tracks are the most desired Lego train track. And for some reason, the Lego train sets and also the train track sets come with very few straight pieces, and they're very hard to get, and they are very expensive because of that. Now, I don't know if Lego's playing games with us. They won't let us buy straight track outright, and it's sort of irritating. So you always get left with a bunch of flex track. Now, how on earth do you use these flex tracks to create a straight track? Well, there it is, dummy. Look, it's perfectly straight. However, it's not. Unlike the straight track that clips nicely into the base plates, the flex track won't do that. So when your trains go on there, the track moves around. It's not stationary, and it's very, very annoying. However, we have a way to create or make this a straight track. How do we do that? So we have our increments of flex track. Flex track is 4 studs long. So what you want to do is use 1x4, 1x8, or 1x12 plates in dark bluish gray, so it matches the color of the flex track, and clip it together. Now, I just clipped it together on the top like we did in the wide radius curves, but you can also do it on the bottom. So when you clip it together on the bottom, you have to do it on both sides. When you do it on the top, you only have to do one side, so it takes less parts. But however, when you do it on the bottom, you're going to be able to clip it into place on your actual base plate, so it becomes a straight track. For example, our flex track is clipped into place as if it is straight track. It's not going anywhere. That's so much better than this flimsy flex track that doesn't have any additional parts into it. So all you have to do is put a layer of dark bluish gray plates, 1x4, 1x8, or 1x12, right underneath, so it clips all of the flex track together and keeps it in a nice straight line and allows you to clip it to the base plate. It does raise the flex track off the plate by 1 plate, so it is a little bit higher than your straight track. However, your train's going to have no problem going from a straight segment that's clipped into a Lego base plate to a flex track segment that's lifted off the ground by 1 plate. But wait, there's more. I have some more hacks when it comes to Lego flex track. One other thing, when working with a segment of flex track, and we've added those plates to the bottom of it to give it some rigidness and allow it to be clipped into the base plate, there are some other things that you can do to improve the overall look of this ugly flex track, and it almost looks ballast. You can grab some 1x2 plates in dark bluish gray and fill these holes in here so that it looks solid, and then you could even put tiles on there or whatever you'd like to do. When working in a Lego city, you use all sorts of different tracks. You use straight track, curved track, switch track, and sometimes when you're working on the track system, you want to do some other modifications to the track. For example, we would always put a curve right here, and then you'd be going in a straight line. But sometimes you want to extend that, maybe make it a little bit further away from the next one. So flex tracks can be used in such a way to create these small minor differences. However, when it's like this, you cannot put the plate underneath because it makes a weird bump. So when you use flex track like this, it still moves. So just remember to put the 1x4 or the 1x8 plate on the top there, just so it doesn't move and it's in a fixed position. Of course, unless you want it to move. So it can be used to fill in gaps in your train track or make slight modifications to switches and stuff like that. Now, one thing you have to keep in mind, like myself, I'm very OCD when it comes to my train track. So I always like to have the train track line up with the plate because, for example, a 32x32 base plate will be 2 segments of train track, whether it be 1 switch track or 2 straight tracks. So when you add a flex track in the middle, it throws it off by 4 studs. So if I were to use 1 here, I personally would use 3 somewhere else just to align it back up with the plate seam. So if I were to use 1 there, I would probably use 3 more flex tracks right after, or somewhere down the road, or down the train line, I guess, just so it lines back up with the plate seam. So if you are going to use them as little connectors or ways to modify your switches and stuff like that, make sure you use an even set of 4 so that it works with the original layout of your train system. Now, sometimes Lego train tracks don't always go aligned with the studs. Sometimes you want to make them go those weird angles, right? Like it's transferring over to another line or something like that. So when you use this system, I would recommend putting your plates on top just so it doesn't create that awkward bump. So just make sure you put your plates on top. Or of course, if you have enough of it, you could always just use a straight track. Generally speaking, if you have enough straight track or turns, then I would never use flex track unless you're trying to do special projects such as widen those radiuses of the curves. That's definitely one of the best newfound uses of the flex track that I have found. Ultimately, in the end, you could use flex track, what it's designed for, to do those curves or make those straights or do those weird snake-like S-turns. I personally wouldn't do it. I find trains have a really hard time going over the S-turns, and I only ever use flex track when it has that plate on the top or those plates on the bottom, or to widen the radiuses of my curves. So you'll see all the different uses of the flex track down here underneath the Lego City in the train yard. Starting right over here, we have our wide radius curve. You can see I've done it a little bit different. There's one flex track, then a curve, then one flex track, then a curve, then 2, then 2, then 2, then 1, then 1, then 1. So you can really use however many flex tracks you want in between each curve so that it meets the radius of your train yard. For example, right here, it is 4 studs away from the edge of the platform, and on the far side it's 4 studs away from the edge of the platform. So the spacing is correct when I use that amount of flex track. Also, in regards to spacing, these tracks are 8 studs away from one another. The tracks over there are both 8 studs away from one another. So I like to get everything lined up perfectly, and also line up the seams of the track with the seams of the base plates. Right here you can see another use of the flex track. That's the one where we put the dark bluish gray plates underneath to give it a rigid straight line. And those are the 2 lines that are going into the train garage here in the train yard. And on that same area, or in that same area, or that same line, you'll see the use of some flex track right here. This is probably the most awkward use of it. This is where it's just a little bit of a slight curve just to get it in the right alignment so that those 2 lines can go into the train garage. Then the final use of it is right over here in the parking stalls. This is where I've put the plates on top of the flex track to give it that rigidness on the angle when it goes across studs. And then you can see a few little spacers right there so that we can get everything lined up how I want it here in the train yard. So that's the many different hacks I have when it comes to the hideous Lego flex track. No, I wish I could just not use it. I wish I could just use all straight track, but I just don't have enough of it. Hey, but it really does help when it comes to widening the radiuses of those curves. If you guys have some hacks for flex track that I missed, make sure you let me know by commenting below. I'd love to hear them. If you guys like this video, give it a big thumbs up. Subscribe to my YouTube channel for some more great stuff coming out in the very near future. Thanks a lot for watching, and bye for now. Have a great day. I wanted to give a special shout out to all the people who supported me using Super Chat and Super Stickers during my live streams. Thank you so much, it's highly appreciated, and make sure you stay tuned for more live streams as I'll be building all of my Lego sets using the live stream function here on YouTube. Thanks a lot, stay tuned, and we'll see you again. Bye for now.